let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. We get together.
We get real. Wrong.
No, I know you are wrong. It's we get together. We get comfortable.
We get real.
We get together. We get comfortable. We get real. Oh,
whatever. You can just go on with the song.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah, make a confession.
You stop listening.
No,
you
I
stop
did,
listening.
I
Stop
did,
recording.
I did press record.
In what? Oh, you're joking. Hey guys, welcome back to UnCut, where we get together, get comfortable, and get real.
Awesome.
So we're here discussing a few things. One of the things on our hearts right now is there a timeline into having it all together? Like, is there a deadline? Like, is there a certain age that, you know, you should be married, have kids, have a career?
I think no, but I think that people put that on themselves. Like, people put their own timeline. I feel like, for me personally, I had a timeline from when I was, like, 15, where I wanted to be married by 22, have kids by 23, like, career, everything by 25, and then, like, I'm rich.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And I have, like, my big house. Like, I wanted that so bad. But then you see how things don't go your way. But because I had that timeline, it affected me. I felt like a failure every single day. And the longer time went on, where I wasn't accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish, the more upset I got, and the deeper I fell into this hole of disappointment.
Right.
But it's like, nobody's telling me to do this. It was just me.
Right.
And to be honest, I still have it a little bit today where I feel like, oh, I should have been married by now. I should have been, more successful by now. But it's literally what I put on myself. I don't think it's something that the government or that society tells you.
I think society or the social media culture, I think in a way, makes it seem like there's a deadline or we're supposed to have it together by a certain age. Like if you're, like, depending on obviously the demographic and stuff like that you followed on Instagram, but everyone is either getting married or popping a baby or either hustling and having some sort of career, right? And when you look at the people around you and when things like that constantly are happening, you do feel like you're falling behind, right? I think it's a natural thing that we do. It's natural, not healthy, but it's something that we do where it's like, damn, like everyone around me keeps getting married, everyone around me keeps popping babies. When is it gonna be my turn? And I think it's you've put it harder on yourself, especially when it's a closer entourage versus just social media and whatever you're seeing.
Yeah. For me personally, well, first disclaimer is that nobody has it all together. It's a lie. It's a lie. It doesn't matter what they show you. They have babies. Nobody has it all together. Personally, I'm a very future focused person. So I've always been somebody who's always looked at what's the next step. Like I was 6 ready for 13, 13 ready for 18, 18 ready for 25.
You've been 30 since you've been 10.
It's trapped in this body. I've been telling you guys. But I think what I'm trying to say is that I think that the time frame is set with a mix of our parents' expectations, what we see of movies in terms of okay, what happens after. We know that in stories, after high school, people go to college. After college, people get married and they find that one and whatever. And then you see those young parents having kids, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like the timeline now has been both media and social media. I think social media is under media, but whatever. But I think social media becomes our timeline because just looking at, after your high school, because that's literally when it really matters. It's after high school, you have to get a job. Next? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of kids are already frustrated because all these people can afford things and you can't afford. I started working at 18, but then I felt like I was behind because people in my grade were working they've been working since they were 17. Okay, so that's one thing. And then when you're done school, apparently you're supposed to get a car. Yeah, but I'm so focused on
You're supposed to be rolling through that grade 12 on your G2.
Yeah. Yep. And I didn't get my G1 nor my G2 at that time. So it's after the G2 and G1, it's okay, you're supposed to be with somebody. You're supposed to have a man. You're supposed to and so because social media becomes our time frame and our timeline, we start feeling like we're kind of behind by looking and referring to those people. So when you go on Instagram, you see all these young people, especially people that are rich and have the money and have the means to do that. We look to those people and say, oh my gosh, like, I want to be young and have a baby. I want to be young and this and this and this. And we want to accomplish things, especially in like the entrepreneurship world where you want to accomplish a lot of things. You want to launch businesses. You want to make money. You want to do all those things while looking for a husband. While you know, you want to do that while you're still young, because it just looks like time is always ticking. But like
reality,
there's no.
Yeah. No, like for me, this topic is very like close, because this is something I had to kind of battle. I feel like in my growing years, and I agree with, I think Lisa had said this, society, I think for me had a lot of effect on how I planned out how I wanted my life to be.
Yeah.
And also our parents as well, they have certain expectations.
Culture, stuff like that,
And for me, it was with school. Like I had, because society is going to tell you this is what you need to do in order to be successful.
Yes.
And I felt like I fell into that, where I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the best university. After that, I'm going to go to law school. I literally had this plan by plan
about
about.
to go into law?
Yup.
I had the time for that.
Yup. I was supposed to finish with my politics. After politics, go to law school. That was literally what my plan was. But I didn't realize that it actually wasn't my plan. Like my plan was based on
I'm
what.
literally like sitting here. I'm like, imagine her
As
like.
a lawyer.
I know,
as a
like,
lawyer.
and that's what it was, and that's
Wait,
what
what?
that's what the problem is. That's what the problem is about having time for me, because it's like you're looking at all these external factors that are like what you're basing your vision and your goals on. When in reality, you don't even sit to think about what is it that you want.
But you're
I didn't
told- you're
realize,
told that you're supposed
and
to
that's the
have a
thing.
plan.
But I didn't realize that is something I didn't want for my life until I was already in there. Like I didn't realize, like I didn't like. To be honest, I didn't like undergrad. Like, I didn't like school. And then I felt like, okay, why don't I like school? Why don't I like school? Like, the topic was interesting, but it wasn't something that I was passionate about as much as I thought I would be, right? So I ended up taking a year off of school, and that's when really entrepreneurship came about. And that's why you ever hear the saying, like, tell God your plans and he'll laugh, where it's like, especially like as Christian, we always say that God has a plan for our lives. So I think going ahead of him and projecting a plan for your life, it's not bad to aspire and have goals, but ultimately know that his plan is always going to be better than ours.
And that's true in
And
everything.
exactly, and I didn't learn that until afterwards. It's like, okay, I don't like school. I don't like politics. I don't want to do law, right? But then, okay, the point where how do I tell that to my parents? Who, you know, as immigrants, they brought you here for that. So that was like a life turning point in my life where I had to realize, okay, Priscilla, what is it that you want? I didn't know, because it's like my whole life was just school. And then obviously my husband, he was an entrepreneur before me, he always had he had a clothing company in high school, and he's the one that kind of brought me into that entrepreneurial world.
The hustler.
Yeah, because before 22, it was literally like law, like school. I always tell Henry too, like, what are you doing? You're not gonna get like your degree. Like he looked at me like, and I didn't understand that until I got into that. So I think it's normal for us to have certain like time frames for certain things, but I think you have to be careful and look at like, where does that come from? Is that truly what you want, or are you basing it on what your parents want for your life? What society tells you that you should
I know
have?
that's especially true in like education. I had the same thing. After like when I was going after high school, I got into nursing, and I was like I've been watching Grey's Anatomy.
Oh my God, I remember that too.
I've been watching Grey's Anatomy, and I'm like, yes, this is what I want. And my mom's like, yes, being a doctor or being something. Like my mom's been wanting somebody in the medical field forever, and I'm like, that'll be me. I'm watching all these shows. I love helping people. I applied. I got in, and literally that summer, I dropped it. Like I got in. I got an acceptance letter and everything, and they're about to accept it. I'm like, what am I hate chemistry. I hate chemistry. I hate math.
That's the thing. I know you hated chemistry. What are you doing?
I'm like, there's no way for me to get there unless I go through these things. And then, am I really gonna go through it because my parents want me to, or I'm trying to prove something to somebody?
For it?
And then I switched. I went to something completely different. I went to travel and tourism. I did some business management. I did some event planning. I did some things all over the place. And my dad was looking at me like, what are you doing? And people around me were looking at me, people, society, the culture was looking at me like, that's not a real job. Like I did after after my first year, I did a 2-year program, travel and tourism, and then as I was finishing my second year, I got a job working on the train with Via Rail, and people are like, what is she doing? And then after Via Rail, I went to Air Canada, and people are like, she's playing with her life. But I had to do what was good for me, and at that point, I always say the saying, do what you do and do what you love. So that was important to me. I had to make sure that as I'm going to school or as I'm going to work, what I'm doing is what I want to do. It's not what my parents want me to do, but what I want to do, I have to see myself thrive in it. And that's really what kept me pushing. It's what keeps me going. It's what brought me into entrepreneurship and all the different things that I'm into.
But it's also about, like, during that whole time, you are finding yourself. Like, you're figuring out who you are. But because we have this pressure to have it all together by a certain time, we skip that step.
We rush.
Yeah.
We don't enjoy the process of it all because you're always looking at the end goal.
Oh, that's a bad word, process.
You know what I mean?
Nobody wants
Nobody
the
wants
process.
to
We
go
just want to...
I personally feel like
there.
I personally feel like we lived in a messed up world, and I think the biggest pressure we have in ourselves is finance, because it's always tied to finance. Like we always want to, want to buy a car. Some of us want to buy a house. Some of us want to buy, and we should have this type of money. And we want to finish school fast so we can get a good job so we can have money, right? And we also live in a messed up world where like kids are not mature because they're not prepared. You know what I'm saying? They don't have enough life experiences to really be prepared at 18 to make that decision, like 20 years past. Because 20 years past, an 18-year-old male was ready for marriage. An 18-year-old male knew what he was doing, and he's been working for a long time. He's been working since he was 16 in his dad's garage or whatever. But like I feel like right now, because we're in this weird era where like everyone's aging late, okay? And everyone like
What do you mean everyone's aging late?
Everyone's aging late if we're comparing to the past. You know what I'm saying?
What do you mean?
And what I mean is like
we're maturing later.
We're maturing later. Like
okay.
we afford cars later. We're getting married a little later than we did in the past. In terms of schooling, like a lot of us are going into school, dropping out, going to school, dropping out, going to school, and that in itself not being like we're being told that you have to have a plan. You have to have it all together. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have it all together, then like there's no room
it's not
for
bad.
error.
I feel like it's not bad to have a plan. Like it's not bad to because I feel like everyone's timeline's different. Like you might have been wanting to be married at 24. You might have been wanting to get married at 30. I don't think it's bad to have a plan for your life. I think you just have to be secure in yourself to know that if it doesn't happen within your timeline, that you don't go back and you start telling yourself, oh, I'm not successful because I didn't get a house by 30, because I didn't get married by 25.
But
and
where does that come from?
But that's what I was saying. I feel like external factors have a lot to do with it, because if you're not secure in knowing who you are, what you want, the external factors are going to affect you even more.
Exactly.
Do you get what I mean? So I think and even just going back to what I was talking about is about we all have purpose for our lives ultimately. Do you get what I mean? So if you're somebody who's okay, you know what? I don't want to do what society tells me that I need to do to be successful. I don't agree with what my parents want me to do. Okay, so getting to take that time to be like, okay, what is it that I want? God, what is the purpose that you have for my life? That way, at least you're going into it, you're planning based on what it is you felt God has placed in your heart and basically what it is that you want. You know what I mean? And again, being comfortable where, okay, you know what? I wanted to buy a car at 18. I wanted to get married at 25. 25 came, I'm so single.
Right.
But I'm okay with being okay with that. Being okay with that. As I think the problem is if you start getting stressed out and worried and you start getting depressed and anxiety and start to be like, man, I'm not successful because I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at my friends around me and they all have what it is that I want, but it hasn't arrived for me yet.
I think also like what we do to ourselves is where we feel like life's a race. Like like who are you racing with?
Your neighbors. You're racing. Well, people are racing
Right.
with
People
your
your
friends,
age,
your
people that
peers.
look like
That's
you,
what I'm
people
saying.
in your
But
culture.
I know.
But in reality.
In reality, I'm just saying, like, who are you racing? Like, ask yourself, honestly, who am I racing with?
Exactly.
Like, who am I in a competition with?
Exactly.
Who am I trying to prove what
And how
to?
do you know you crossed the finish line? Like
Where is
when you
that
cross the
finish
finish
line?
line, like where's that finish line and who's giving you a prize?
Is graduation the finish line? Getting married? Is
no
that your finish
finish
line?
Everybody
Having
has
babies?
their own definition
Their
of like
paths.
of success.
Right.
Right? So how do you know that what you consider success is what I consider success?
Exactly.
People might
But
come
success-
to you and I've gotten that. People might come to you and say, oh my God, Deb, like when are you gonna get married? That alone puts pressure. Even if, let's say, you weren't worried about it, that alone will make you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I behind? Am I, you know what I mean? Is everybody ahead of me in some way? That's where it comes from. And that's why society does play a big role in making you, in putting a timeline for you, even when you didn't even set one for yourself.
And the thing is, like, the beauty of it is, like, and I agree, like, I don't understand why some people are racing with other people, because the beauty of it is we all have different paths.
Right.
If we were all the same, like, if all of us was pregnant right now, like, I just feel like that would, not to say that it's bad if it happened, but the beauty of it is, like, she has her path. She has her path. I have my path. That's the beauty of it, because that's how we're able to all grasp from each other.
Exactly.
You get what I mean? If
Someone
we
has to
all,
go first.
exactly, someone has to do this first. Somebody has to get married so you can see, like, I always like when people do things first. Like, I was even telling Lisa, I'm like, yo, you're pregnant. I'm gonna see how it really is. Like, you know what I mean? Before it's my turn, it's like, but that's the beauty of it, is that like we all have different paths for us. God has different paths for our lives, and you should be secure in that. If somebody comes to you and is like, girl, where's your husband? You know what I mean? You should be like, it's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming, and be secure in that. But I think it's like you said, it's hard to have that mentality when you look around and it's like, you know what I mean? You're either being judged, or, you know, your friends are doing things that you're not doing. So I think it's like, what we have to figure out is how can we be secure in our own paths without looking at somebody else and then feeling like, why aren't we there yet?
Step behind.
I'm gonna piggyback what you said, because like I've struggled with time my entire life, and still now like I struggle with time, because I always want to be forward. Like I'm always like, okay, and then after. I'm never like, you know, really living in my now. But I think what really soothed me and what really gave me peace again is knowing that God has a plan for me. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that, you know what, if I didn't get that job, it's because it wasn't my job. You know what I'm saying? And surrendering to his will. Because when you surrender to his will and you know that his will is better than yours, it shows when you live your life. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to say, okay, I trust the Lord, I know that he has goodness for me, blah, 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 then why are we anxious when things don't, you know?
Why are you insecure?
You know?
You get what I mean?
So if I know that he ultimately has a plan for me, and if I know that his will is ultimately going to be done as long as I really submit to his ways, and his ways are better than mine, then you know what? I'm not even gonna trip. I can have my plan. I can have my plan, but I know, okay, well, God, this is my plan. But you know what? You have your own plan, and may your will be done above my plan.
That's why I was saying the line, like, you make a plan, God laughs.
Yeah,
you know?
But it's also important to underline the reality of that. Yes, we say, you say all these, you know, faith-based things or biblical things. It's easy to say once you've kind of crossed it, or before you've gone through it. While you're going through it, it's not as easy to be like, okay, God, like, I'm gonna surrender everything and I just let you know, because like, there's a lot of different factors. You don't want to let go of control. You don't want to, the fear of the unknown. You have your set things like, oh my God, I'm supposed to have this together. I'm falling behind, or everyone's getting married, or pressure and stuff like that.
But that's the mirror of your faith, though.
Right. I understand that, but I'm just saying, I want everyone to also understand that it is a very valuable piece of advice, and it's a very valuable truth, and it's okay when you go through, like, when you're going through it, it's something that you don't easily remember, but we want to put it out there that, you know, the faith that you have is important. Like,
and it
God's
came gradually.
Yeah, God's will is important. Like, I know, right, the me today, when I still go through some things and I'm like, yo, like, I can't, like, this had to be done a certain time. Like, I have a hard time with not having control, right? But then as I'm struggling, just because of my faith, I can there's something that grounds me at the end of the day, right?
And you know
compared
what helps
to
me?
the old me, compared to the old me that, like, the 18-year-old me that didn't know any better, I just be like, oh my God, this is not working. Let me hop on something else. I was just bouncing off the walls because I had nothing grounded.
Foundation.
I had no foundation. Yeah.
And you know what helps me a lot is, like, I always go back to, like, there's certain things that we have to know that we're just not ready for. Like, you get what I mean? Because sometimes it's
even
like...
if you want it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it goes back into, like, letting go and letting God. And if you trust and trusting him enough to know that, okay, God, you know what? I've been praying for a husband. I've been praying for my finances to, you know, for breakthrough in my finances. I've been praying, you know what I mean, for a car, whatever it is that you're aspiring to have or aspiring to have a certain time. And if it doesn't happen within that timeline, always remembering that it's going to happen. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's going to happen within its time, and being able to be like, okay, if it didn't happen, it's just not the time, or I might not just be ready.
You know, and like, prepare yourself.
You know, I always think about that reference with, like, you know, a blessing, like someone could give you a car right now at at 26, and it could be a blessing for you, but an 8-year-old gets a car and it's not really a blessing because he's not prepared to carry that load of that blessing. So a lot of times it's like, you want to get married at 22? Like back, cause think about it. Back then, that was an age.
You're ready. Yeah, 22 was a hot age. You're
But
like,
looking back
I
now,
swear, that's all we said. I was like, yo, 23.
have you ever had that moment where you're like, oh my God, thank God that didn't happen.
Exactly.
Thank God I didn't
Like,
get that. Thank God, because it didn't turn out the way you thought it was gonna turn out. It happens all the time because it wasn't your time,
wasn't
and
the
it wasn't,
time.
or maybe it wasn't your thing.
yeah.
And it
know
wouldn't
what I mean?
be a blessing
might
had
be
it
my
come
thing.
at that time.
Yeah.
You
If
know
let's
what
say
I
you
mean?
didn't
It's
get
okay.
into,
You receive it.
It might be my thing, you know? Because I'm still back there.
I kind of still want it, but yeah.
No, but it's true. But like realizing that like maybe it's as much as I want it right now. There's
It's
either
not my
something
time.
and like God is so intentional that it's either there's something that you still need to learn before receiving that.
Right.
It's again, it's just might not be the time, and then you don't realize it until it comes, and then you're like, man, had my husband came at 20, it wouldn't be my husband.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I actually have that thought a lot with when it comes to cars. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy a car, and I'm thinking, okay, Mikhail, you're still in school, so everything you would be making had you had a car when you were like 18, everything you would be making would have went to that car. I would have been working for that car and not like, you know, been able to save up and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, just thank God for everything because he sees what you don't. Like we're kind of moving forward, but like we don't see ahead. We literally have street view, but I would say he's like Google Earth. Like he knows what's ahead. He knows what's coming tomorrow. He knows that there's a storm like 15 minutes away and it's coming our way. So let's just trust the one that could see and, you know, and not ourselves because we'll deceive
And what
ourselves.
helps with that also is surrounding yourself with like-minded people.
Oh God.
And not just people of the same age, but people that have the same vision, that have the same drive, same faith.
But not gonna judge you.
Yeah, that will keep you grounded
it'll
when you
keep you
feel
grounded.
like you're doubting or you're feeling a little bit off about something or sad. People that will remind you where you need to be, remind you that, you know, God's timing is always perfect and don't stress about it. Let it go and let God. So it's really, really important to be around those types of people.
Because surrounding yourself by like-minded people, nobody should be feeling like you're in a competition with each other. If one person's winning, we all winning.
Exactly. And we all have different paths.
And we're all at different paths. If one person's going through something first, like clearly
we all
over
eat.
here,
We're all
the
eating.
others will benefit.
We're all eating.
Exactly, as long and you know that's very true. Like a lot of like every time I listen to, you know, whatever I watch something, I always hear like who do you surround yourself with has a lot to do about like where you're going to end up,
who you
like
become.
Realistically, like who you become, because it's like you, as much as you don't think, oh, this girl could be doing this, that won't affect me. Yes, it will.
It does.
Like, you know what I mean?
And you can see that it does.
Yeah,
It does. It won't will. But it does.
It does.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that actually because it's so true where you might, you know, when you're evolving in your life or something's happening to you, but then you have friends who are uncomfortable with your success. They want to kind of hold you back.
But it's hard to find. I have to say, like, in terms of success, finding people around you that are actually happy for you, like,
Like
it's
to the core happy
to the
for
core,
you.
like they always say, they're happy for you until you're doing better, you know. Like, but you have to find people that are so close to their family that when I do better, it's like we all do.
It
better.
motivates you, like you know what I mean. It shouldn't you shouldn't look at somebody else's success and be like
as competition.
sad. Like you should be seeing like yo,
motivation.
like you she did that. That means I
Yeah,
can
what-
do it.
what
like,
did you
know
do?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
How'd you get pregnant, bro?
no, like for real, it should encourage you
I
and
think
not
that's
like,
exactly
make
how
you
we're gonna get over this whole timeline issue.
Yeah.
Is by having friends who will support you when you feel like
support
oh, am I
system.
falling behind? Who will show you no, like look at what you've accomplished this year. You're doing so great. Don't worry about this. Your time will come.
Exactly.
You know
And
what I
not
mean?
being so stuck focused on this plan that like because that was like literally the reason I shared the school story, because that was me. Like I was so like I had already, before I even got accepted into like where I went to school, I had already said, okay, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna go. Like I was so stuck on this plan that like when I got in it and I wasn't happy, like and also that like what is your reason for these things? Are you chasing like
the norm,
exactly, like
and what's socially acceptable,
Yeah.
culturally accepted.
like what do you want? What do you want
Yeah.
out of this? Is it really something
What
that can
achieving?
bring you
Like, are you
happiness?
doing it for you or
Are you doing it just for money, for like to show your parents that hey, this is it?
clout?
Or to
Like
show
what
your
is it that you
because
want?
at the end of the day,
Clout?
at the end,
Yeah.
Are you doing it for clout?
no, but for real,
Clout
because
chasing.
at the end of the day, you're living it.
Yeah.
And there's two
gotta be happy
two
into
things,
it.
2 points I definitely want to underline is whatever we see online, remember that's what people wanted you to see. Right? Whatever people are constantly like, we see the relationship goals, the couple goals, the family goals, and all these goals that apparently we're supposed to be aiming for. But remember, those are portrait, those are pictures. That's
Idealistic.
their situation, and that's what they wanted to show. Whether you're following influencers, YouTubers or whatever, depending on their vulnerability, whatever they choose to show you, like, again, it's a choice what they choose to show you. Nobody's showing you their struggles or whatever, or everything,
Highlight,
right? And then the other thing, pregnancy brain, I'm trying to remember.
I saw it coming.
I know, I'm like, oh, she's losing her thought. It's going.
Baby girl.
It's going. No, it's gone, yeah, I don't know. I
No,
don't
but-
remember, but
but-
it was good. It was deep.
It'll come back to you. Don't worry.
But
about
like,
it.
even for me, what, like, when I took that year off was really like, okay, what am I aspiring for in my life? Like, going to law school, because to be straight honest, like, the reason why I wanted to go to law school was because it was either doctor, law, like, that was what was deemed
immigrant's
successful.
dream.
You know what I mean?
Every
Yeah, that
immigrant's
was
dream.
what, like, it wasn't.
Do better than us.
No, exactly. That was literally what it was. It wasn't from truly thinking this was gonna bring me happiness. And if, like, we mentioned we're all Christians here, and what we know that what we should aspire for are like fruitful things like love, happiness, joy, peace. So if you're doing something that's not bringing you peace, that's not bringing you happiness, that's not bringing you some sort of like contentment, just know that you're not really successful, because that's what true success is. It's not how you're gonna look, how much money you're gonna make. It's ultimately how you're gonna feel doing what you're doing. You know.
And the worst thing is when you only get your joy from posting on social media and getting those likes, but deep down you're actually not happy because this wasn't your path to begin with.
Ooh, girl, that's another
This wasn't
topic.
your like,
That's we could go on forever. That's another
real.
topic.
Yep.
Like,
But so the main things we've said definitely is surrounding yourself by like-minded people. Your faith definitely keeps you grounded. Any other points? You're not racing with anybody. Like, do better for yourself. Don't do it for clout.
Right.
And
And
do
if
it
you
for
don't make it-
do it for actual like peace, joy, and
for your
happiness,
own-
not
for
for how
yourself.
you're gonna look, how other people are gonna perceive you, or what others want.
and if you don't make it by your timeline, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's still coming.
It's still coming.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for following us. Follow us on all our social medias. We can't wait to talk to you again. Have a good one.